is living from a state of rest, and that rest is a mindset, as a consciousness level, which can be in any situational circumstance. I mean, it's like Jesus living in the eye of the storm, being asleep on the boat, totally at rest, totally at peace with the Father, no worry, no anxiety, knew where they were going. And yet the disciples were seeing a whole different scene. And even though they were experienced fishermen, they were frightened by the state of the weather. And, it doesn't mean that there isn't weather or storms in life. It just means we need to be able to live at rest in the midst of that, at the center of it, at the eye of the storm. And that means living constantly in the presence of God, the peace, the joy, the love, living in that by actually connecting, for me, connecting with first love, surrendering my whole being, having a flow from heaven through me into the earth, which is creating an atmosphere of love, joy, peace, living in that bliss state that then enables us to see and put into perspective everything that's going on around us and know that we can trust him. He is faithful. He will never let us down, that we can put our trust in his provision, his protection, his direction. And we don't have to worry or get anxious about anything when we're in that state. Trust is such a key to living in a relationship with God, which is to bring us into rest. Do I trust God enough to come into agreement with what he said? Because if the disciples had come into agreement with what Jesus said, we're going to the other side, then as soon as this stuff came up, they would have just said, well, we're going to the other side. They would have probably said, peace be still, because we're going to the other side. Or, well, let's go to the other side now and avoid this storm, which is what Jesus did when he said, peace be still. He took them instantly from where they were to the other side, ship and all, transport the whole lot in the spiritual realm. So I think when we do really consciously are able to trust God for everything by seeking first his kingdom in that state of love, then the worry and anxiety, which is often what causes us to get out of that place of peace and rest, won't need to be manifesting, because we're trusting in God fully as sons, because he's a good dad and he loves us and he wants to bring good out of every situation. And we can trust him in it. But obviously most people's life has probably been broken trust, and events where they've been let down, where they've been disappointed, where things haven't gone according to their own ideas or plans, but also in terms of other people have not done probably what they've said they were going to do. So there's this lack of trust is such a big area. And so many people are in reality looking out for their own lives because they don't trust anybody else. Therefore, they're in the works mentality of, well, I have to protect myself. I have to do this. And you get all the protection mechanisms and coping mechanisms, defense mechanisms, because we don't trust in God's protection. We have to protect ourselves. And I think rest, finding that place where we can connect with his presence, connect with love, needs to transform the way we think and the way we then respond in that trust by casting all our cares onto him, but also learning to be a son and learning to be able to do the things that he does. So if there's a problem, and I think Jesus sort of intimated at this, well, if there's a problem in your way, well, tell it to get out of your way. Don't worry over it. Take authority over it. And I think you can only do that when you're in this place of intimacy where your heart and the Father's heart are so entwined that the motives of your heart and the desires of your heart are aligned to his. And then creatively, you can outwork that desire in multiple different ways, but they're all going to produce the same result, the outworking of his heart on earth as it is in heaven. And that does require a level of relationship which a lot of people don't have yet, and we need to find ways of helping them to discover it.
Yeah.
Learning to live from rest. You know, most people are striving for rest rather than living from rest. They're trying to get everything to rest rather than being. It's a state of being rather than a state of doing anything. We just need to be. And that when we can truly be, we are at rest, because we're just being who he made us to be in relationship with him. But it is a difficult one for a lot of people, because they don't trust God, because they don't trust people, and they don't trust authority, because they've been let down by authority, parents or whatever. Therefore, coming to a trust from God only really comes when we get this face-to-face intimacy where we truly know him, rather than know about him or have some experiences of him, but we actually do know him and really in reality have that knowledge, which is experiential knowledge, not intellectual knowledge or understanding. You know, and that's got to go beyond the cognitive trying to figure it out, work it out, to experiencing it and being, living in the state of rest, because we are, you know. And I love the fact, you know, I am that I am. Well, actually, that's what the state that God wants us to get to, that we are that we are.